Hello everyone, Lee Warren here again at Invisible Advantage. As many of you may know, I asked on LinkedIn for your questions about presenting, some of your challenges. Lots of the questions that came in are about performing, and one question comes up again and again and again: what do I do with my hands? I've got these things at the end of my arms, and they suddenly take on a life of their own when I start presenting. So what do I do with my hands? Well, I think there are a couple of things to say about that really. The first thing is, and I say this from experience myself, being a public speaker and a magician, I'm a performer, so I know what it's like to suddenly realise that your hands are sort of taking on a life of their own. Almost always when you get that problem, it's because your attention is too much on yourself and not on your audience. And in presenting, that tends to come from the fact that you haven't done enough work on getting your message right and making that message right for the audience. When you watch great presenters, they don't seem very concerned about their hands because they know they're really committed to their message. They know their message inside out and they know that it's right for their audience. So I think about 90% of the problem with what do I do with my hands actually comes from the fact that you're probably not prepared enough. You probably haven't done enough work yet on your message, and you probably haven't tailored it well enough to your audience yet. And that's why you start thinking about yourself during a presentation. But sometimes, even when you've got the message right and you really are connected to the message, even then sometimes you can have some problems with your hands. So there are a couple of practical tips I want to give you. One is have a prop for yourself. So I've got here a card. This has got a couple of notes on about this talk, for example. Give yourself a card in your hands. You'll notice in some of my other videos, I'm holding cards in my hands. It's quite a nice thing. It can make you feel quite secure when you're presenting. You can transfer the card from hand to hand. Gives you a little bit of movement in your presentation, makes it a bit more interesting and so on. The second thing that you can do, if you haven't got a card, is have a clicker. Give yourself a clicker in your hand. It does the same sort of thing. It means you don't have to keep wandering backwards and forwards to a computer as well. So have another prop like a clicker, something like that. Even really experienced presenters, you'll see quite often, ask for the clicker. They don't use it very much necessarily during their presentation. It's just a little bit easier to have a prop in your hand. Be strict with yourself and don't become the kind of presenter who grips hold of furniture, all right? Try and avoid gripping hold of the lectern. Try and avoid walking over and really leaning on a chair and gripping it firmly. It makes you look nervous and it kind of gives you a bit of tension in your body, so try and avoid that. And the last tip I'll give you is a bit of rehearsal and plotting will help to remove a lot of your hand nervousness, your hand worries. So go through your presentation. If you're going to be standing up while presenting, practice, rehearse your presentation standing up, and give yourself 2 or 3 moments in your presentation when you know exactly what you're going to be doing with your hands. So it might be that you're saying, here are my 3 key points. You might be asking for applause. You might be pointing at something off stage, or you might be gesturing to a member of the audience. But know exactly in your presentation what you're going to be doing with your hands at 2 or 3 key moments. I go through this a lot with my clients, and all of them find that they become more confident by doing that because there's a little roadmap, there's a little route through your presentation, and it helps you to feel confident knowing that at certain points you know exactly what you're going to be doing. So try those things, make sure your message is right, get committed to your message, give yourself a little roadmap with your hands, with your gestures, give yourself a prop like a card or a clicker if need be, and give yourself the freedom not to grip furniture. If you do all of those things, pretty much all of your worries about what you do with your hands will vanish overnight. Try those things out, let me know in the comments how you get on, and of course get in touch if I can help.